So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the IS topper 2023, Mr. Animesh Pradhan.
নমস্কার এবং জয় জগন্নাথ। This feels like coming back to home. Before I start, esteemed Dilip sir and the entire team of Vajra IS Academy, press and media, students, fellow aspirants, parents, and everybody present over here. I can continue speaking in Odia for throughout the session, but for the larger benefit of everybody, I would keep switching between Odia, Hindi, and English. Languages are merely the medium of expressions. I would like to have a constructive session here where we engage into valuable discussions, be it in any language. But truly blessed to have this opportunity to be here. Thank you to the entire team of Vajra IS Academy here to give me that opportunity here to come and share my gratitude and happiness among the people of my own. I have been making appearances and speaking at a lot of platforms, but nothing feels better than speaking at my own hometown, at my own state. That is probably the reason why you'd see me not wearing a suit, which I have been doing for last 1 month. I wanted to be like an Odia, feel like an Odia. That's my entire identity. So I'll give a brief background about myself, and then for next couple of minutes and for an hour or so, we'll be discussing what was my preparation strategy. And before I share my preparation strategy and what helped and what did not, there's a sweet disclaimer that my preparation strategy and the nuances of it might not be completely relatable to you. We are extremely different individuals. We have our own backstories, own contextual backgrounds that make up the person we are today. So it would be extremely unfair if you blindly follow what I had done, because our upbringing, the climate that I was brought in could be different as compared to yours. But I would be really happy that if you could pick up few things from what I did, and if you could apply that in your preparation strategy and that is helpful to you, then that would be great. And if I could improve your motivation quotient by even 1% is something that I will be really happy. This is something very close to my heart. I feel very angry seeing the representation of ODIs in the final list of civil services in UPSC civil service examination. And I would be extremely, extremely happy if next year there's somebody with a better rank AIR-1 from Odisha comes up and speaks in front of you. I had seen like from Madam Manu Kumari to Aksha Jain to Shruti Sharma, all these toppers had come up here, and it feels great to continue their legacy. And it's better even because I'm speaking here in front of the people I have grown up with. So as I was telling, I'll give a brief background about myself. So I was born and brought up in Talcher in Angul, and I studied in a school called DAV Public School, MCL Kalinga area, right from LKG to 12th. And then I moved on to NIT Rourkela, where I did my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering, and I graduated in the year 2021. And through campus placement, I got inducted to Indian Oil Corporation. I'm still working with IOCL as Information Systems Officer. I was posted in refinery headquarters in Delhi. And I had done my entire preparation throughout while I was in job. I had not taken any extended leaves while I was stationed with IOCL as well. And this was my first attempt with UPSC, and sociology was my optional. Extremely, extremely full of gratitude and grateful that I was able to do it in the first attempt, because on an average it takes much higher attempts. I understand the kind of frustration and kind of personal professional sacrifices one had to go through because of this examination, but extremely grateful to every forces which was behind me, which helped me to get through this exam in the first attempt itself. For me, the entire preparation was from February 2022. after I had joined IOCL in October 2021, I had started my full-fledged preparation from February 2022, and my prelims was in May 2023. So it was a full-fledged, consistent preparation of 1.5 years. But bit of a context that I believe this was not just 1.5 or 2 years of preparation. Any competitive exam, I feel, is not just the time of study or time of hours you put in for that exam only. It's a culmination of your entire life, how you were brought up, what kind of friend circle you had, everything in some form or the other helps. So my father and my mother were from academia. My father was a political science lecturer, and my mother, for most part of her life, was a teacher and a history postgraduate. So the climate of my like study table and the dinner table conversation was extremely intellectual. We used to debate while growing up in school. I used to have daily debates with my father about politics, economy, and everything. So all those things, the way I was brought up, had held me, which had kept my interest towards humanities intact. In college, I was very active as a parliamentary debatarian. I used to do student journalism as well. So my background must have held. Although I come from science background, I had not picked up any UPSC books, neither in my college as well. But my inclination towards current affairs, towards international relations, polity, economy, and humanities in general must have made me sail through this exam in a more seamless way. But again, the beauty of this exam is that it provides a clear slate to everybody. Does not matter whether you are a studious person, does not matter you are fluent in English or not, does not matter you had interest in humanities or not. It's a clean slate for everybody. And everybody, the 1,000 rankers you would see, you'll have a different story to tell. Somebody would be a backbencher at college, somebody would be a front bencher, somebody would have done wonderful in the subjects of humanities as a graduation subject, and somebody coming from finance, from MBBS, from engineering, law, so on and so forth. And that's why it's important to note that you might not have a similar upbringing to mine, but the probability of you clear this exam remains still the same as me. That's the beauty of exam, that it's uncertain for everybody. So the only certainty that it brings, that it's a level playing field where the uncertainty is the same for everyone, does not matter what kind of background they come from. Obviously, people have their silver spoons in hand. I personally felt that since I had a job in hand, and this was a very conscious decision that I wanted to prepare alongside a job because I wanted the financial independence and I did not want to depend on anyone else. So there are silver linings would happen, but the first step towards success would be stop comparing yourself to anyone else. Like if I would have cribbed about the fact that there are majority of people are preparing this full time, and I, on a very good day, I was getting 5-6 hours per on a weekday, then I think I would have felt that is the first instance itself. So you'll have to stop complaining about the limited resources you have and make the best possibility and utilization of the resources you get. Be it through time, be it through money, be it through mentorship, be it through coaching, teachers, anything. It's always better to look for more, strive for more, but not keep on complaining and cribbing about the limited opportunities you have, because every time you think that you are with lesser, there will be lakhs, crores of people who would be having even lesser resources than you would have. If your intent of joining civil services and become a civil servant is extremely honest, ethical, and full of integrity, and you have that purpose within you, there will be times when you would like to give up, but if that intent is strong and right, you'll be able to sail through. And for that, it's very important to have a support system in hand. I think I'm assuming every one of you is somewhere the other a civil servant aspirant, be it OPSC or UPSC. More than the standard books of Lakshmikant, Spectrum, so on and so forth, a strong support system is much more beneficial than all these standard resources cumulatively put together. Hold on to those friends, family, partners, anybody that you have, because in the time when you like to give up, those are the people that will help you to get back onto the track, and they will realize why and how you want to pursue this as a goal. So it's very important that you nurture the support system and keep them very close. Does not matter how big or small that is. The thing that matters is how strong your support system becomes. Uh, Another one aspect before I switch on to prelims, mains, and interview strategy is that I'll say the importance of plan B in the exam. Statistically, it will be very practical. The number of aspirants who make to the final list is extremely disproportionately skewed as compared to the people who do not make it to the list. And it's a ugly fact, and we have to accept that. So whenever you're planning to start for the exams, or if you are in the process, in the middle of your preparation itself, please be thorough with a plan B. It's always good to have some backup and have some plannings in mind. You can always change that because you evolve as a person as you go through this preparation. But the plan B should not be that I'll become this if this does not happen. You'll have to ensure how many attempts are you ready to give. If you're ready to give for 3 years, 4 years, 4 attempts, 5 attempts, whatever it is, but you have to make sure to plan that who will be your financial resource source for that, who would be your emotional source for that, where would you be put up. All these things has to be in place. And if you do not clear after so and so attempts, then what would you pursue? And if let's say I had a plan B of doing management consultancy if UPSC does not happen for me, so I knew what kind of exams I would have to appear for that, and how many years would it take to prepare for that exam, and what kind of career prospectus the particular field has. So similar kind of planning is very, very essential. Does not matter, because no matter how brilliant you were as a kid, this exam is extremely non-forgiving to everyone who comes into the preparation phase, and there's no certainty for sure. And that's a fact that's very difficult to digest. But I as a person am very pessimistic, so I had always a plan B, plan C, plan D in mind. So on a personal note, I would suggest to keep your pessimism also intact in the exam and be ready to face failures more than success. Again, I was extremely lucky to have done this in first attempt, but you'll have to have a structured plan, and so did I as well. So I'll start with my prelims, mains, and interview preparation. But before that, again, a bit of context. Even though I had started in February 2022, I always wanted to become an IAS officer right from my childhood, from class 5 or 6, I can think about. So I was always in that mindset of appearing for UPSC examination. It's not that I deliberately did any activity in school or college कि अच्छा एटा मु करी देले IAS HB या फिर debating कॉले ही मते help हब. No, nothing of that sort. It was always I would like to do something that I enjoy, but also I was always conscious that I'll be a aware citizen, a responsible citizen, because it helps. So even though I had not started my full-fledged preparation till February 2022, but I had seen a lot of topper videos. Probably one of these videos of Vajirayas Academy also of the past toppers. And I always knew what it takes, how many hours people put in, what standard resources, what value addition materials they put in, and what importance optional and GS and everything. I was well thorough about what the examination demand. I had a Excel sheet where I used to monitor my revision, I used to monitor my standard book coverage, I used to monitor my test scores, make graphs out of it. So it's extremely statistical in my approach while I used to prepare. And I had a clear plan for the entire 1 year. Obviously, there would be a lot of additions, a lot of deletions, a lot of improvisations while you're making a plan. But when you're making a plan, at the back of the mind also, you have a clarity that what kind of plan or what kind of syllabus or how much, what quantity of syllabus you would have covered by what time and so on and so forth. So that kind of planning is extremely important for this examination, and does not matter if you're doing it in 1 year. I'm assuming a lot of people would have started from graduation itself, so you'll have couple of years in your hand, 2 years or 3 years in your hand. But even then, having a dedicated planning and strategy around that really, really helps. I'll not speak a lot about my sources per se, because I think there are a lot of online videos. If you would see, I'd have given very detailed resource lists everywhere. So I would not like to reiterate the things that I'll have said. And to be honest, I did not have any very unconventional preparation resource list. I followed more or less what every other topper would have suggested. And but one thing that I had followed is that when it comes to resources, I had a plan of a very fixed resource list, and I used to revise it as many times as possible. But again, when I say that resource list was minimum, it does not mean that for polity and governance, I just studied Lakshmikant. So for prelims, maybe that was the only thing that I studied. But for mains, I had to make my own notes. So those notes would be probably from 5 different materials. But it's not that as reading one topic, let's say Panchayati Raj or polity and governance, from 5 different sources. I found one source which was suitable to this part of polity, so I had to pick that up and make my own notes. Some other coaching material for that part of the subject, so on and so forth. So it's not like I was associated with n number of coachings, but is that I would have picked up something or the other from some institute, the other. And since I was preparing alone, I did not have a peer group. Although I was very, I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate, I cannot make a judgment about it. But I was posted in Delhi, but I was far, far away from the old Rajinder Nagar, the Mukherjee Nagar community. And I personally believe there's no requirement to people to shift from Odisha to Delhi per se. I am being told and have seen that a lot of guidance programs, a lot of mentorship programs here as well. You have a lot of dedicated teachers coming from Delhi as well who are teaching. So it's, and the comfort of your own environment, the comfort of your own family, or maybe not family, you can come from Talcher and just be here in Bhubaneswar. You do not have to do large scale migration just to clear an exam. And to be honest, life in Delhi as an aspirant is not very glamorous. So, and the cultural shock that I had gotten after shifting from Odisha to Delhi was humongous. And it takes a lot to get accustomed to those changes. So a lot of your energy, times gets invested into that. So if anybody is planning to shift there only for the sole purpose of clearing this exam and taking up a place there and reading, please give it a second thought, because you have ample amount of opportunities here as well. And it on a personal note, I would find that if you're okay staying here at your home, it's doable with the kind of opportunities you are getting right now in Bhubaneswar as well. So continuing to that, as I said that I was away from the entire aspirant community, I did not have a peer group to check my answers or do anything. Although I had a mentor who used to guide me somewhere or the other. I had one friend who was preparing for Odisha Civil Service Examination, Chodanga Pradhan. He had scored all in a rank 27 last year in OCS exam as well. So apart from that, I did not have anybody as a friend who was preparing for this exam as well, apart from obviously Kasturi Panda Didi as well. She was my college senior, so I was in touch with her. So again, it's not important to have a peer circle or a support system. You have one dedicated mentor or somebody who could guide you is also extremely sufficient, is what I want to deliver. And Delhi is not the sufficient, neither the sufficient nor a necessary condition to clear the examination in my own judgment. I had my planning and done. So for my entire preparation was an integrated approach. Prelims and mains, more or less the fundamentals remains the same. But I have an opinion that it's not the same game altogether. Prelims and mains, although you'll read the same standard resources, the same concepts, same fundamentals remain the same, but the way of seeing those standard resources, the way of internalizing those facts, figures, and information remains very different for prelims and mains point of view. So from February to mid of January, February 2022 to mid of January 2023, I had my preparation made in 3 slots. The first was reading the standard books, which were very prelims oriented. And the second was for my optional sociology. And the third being going through current affairs and making mains oriented notes for that. So I had my prelims, mains, and my optional preparation going hand in hand. And obviously, after January, like after mid of January and February 2023, I shifted to exclusive prelims preparation where I focused entirely on prelims and forgetting mains or optional exist in this universe. And from February to May, it was only prelims and where I gave a lot of test series. But I'll speak about how these 3 slots would look like. For the one standard books, I had a plan in my mind that for next 20 days I'd be reading Lakshmikant. For next couple of weeks I'd be reading, let's say, R.S. Sharma, old NCERT for ancient India. So I had the standard books made, and I had made a list that, okay, this month would be environment, that month would be economy, which are very standard conceptual things. And I had a revision strategy in place as well. I used to study from Monday to Saturday, but on Sundays it used to be only revision. I never used to pick anything new on Sundays and used to just revise everything that I had studied from Monday to Saturday. And revision is probably the most boring aspect of this examination yet, but the most important aspect, because no matter how many books you read, what kind of knowledge you would have felt, but unless you internalize that and make sense out of it so that you would be able to reproduce on the examination paper, it won't yield you anything. So for me, revision, I'll speak about the revision strategy after a couple of minutes, what was my strategy, but Sunday used to be the revision day for me. And the second part of the slot was sociology. Again, I'll speak about sociology in length and breadth after a couple of minutes, but sociology also, I made my own notes from scratch, having no background in it as well. So that was one of the slots. And the third slot, I think, was an extremely important one, was where I covered my current affairs and I made my mains topic-wise notes for mains from there. So I'm assuming if you're enrolled in an institute here as well in Vajira, you would be getting materials and you're in safe hands. So does not matter what resource you pick up. I had picked up one of the coaching institute's materials, a weekly current affairs magazine. And from that weekly current affairs magazine, I used to make my mains notes. So mane like it's a confusing one. I'm not sure if I'll be able to convey it properly or not. But for example, gote 40 page ro week ro current affairs ro note thila mo bakre. Mu seitru note bano nathli. I had made a booklet, GS1, GS2, 3, 4 topic wise more notes thila, like agriculture was different, polity was different, governance was different. So if there's one topic, let's say renewable energy had come. So I know renewable energy is a question in environment which could come. So say magazine ro renewable energy bisare jaha bhi acha, I used to make my 1-pager or 2-pager note max for my mains oriented note. And let's say this was a news which had come in May of any month, and maybe July masir again renewable energy upre alga kichhi hasi pare. So I used to just add on to what new information I would have gotten after 2 months related to that particular topic. So it's not that I had week-wise notes of each of these weekly magazine, but I had my own self-made mains notes topic-wise from a weekly current affairs magazine. And when you talk about current affairs magazine, it's not always that it's a current affairs. For example, probably in polity you would read some MPs could have been disqualified from the parliament for so and so reason. In newspaper, it used to come that so and so MP has been disqualified and max on the basis of this rule of Lok Sabha or this constitutional part of it. But what I found interesting about the coaching materials was that they would to put a background to it as well, that what are the other ways in which an MPs could be disqualified, or if somebody is disqualified, what are the other course of action they can take. So it was always a more wholesome way when I was covering current affairs. That's why I preferred coaching material to newspapers. But if you have 2 years, 3 years time for this examination and you are not a working aspirant and you have time, please read newspapers. the minimum being at least the editorials, either any of the newspapers, Hindu or Indian Express, anything that you find comfortable with. But since I was in paucity of time, I did not have a lot of time. Initially, I started with Hindu, reading their editorials for 1-2 months, but I could not just get time. So I switched to coaching materials for because I found them more wholesome, and because you cannot make notes out of newspaper every day, and it becomes very difficult to consolidate that notes as well. So I relied on coaching materials when it came to current affairs, and from those current affairs magazines, I made my mains notes topic wise. So these topic wise notes were made till mid of January, December or mid of January. I had notes for all my GS papers, topic wise, which was made. And in the month of obviously November and December, I sat down and I had my syllabus in my hand and saw ki koko topic re moro notes nahi mein sir. So for that, what I did is that again I referred to past year's yearly compilations of current affairs. You'll get a lot in the market as well. So I picked one of those, and then I suffice jo topic number notes hi nathila for means. I picked up materials from there and I wrote it. So I was with content throughout, like for means. And I think you'll have to create your own content from the available resources you'll have. I'm pretty sure, since I was not a part of a foundation course of any of the institutes, so I did not get anything spoon fed to me. I did not have anything on my plate. But I'm sure a lot of institute, including here as well in Vajira, would be probably getting ready-made material for that. If you're getting that, then well and good, refer those. And that was also the motto, that if I get any ready-made resources, I had referred a lot of topper copies, a lot of topper notes, and would have just copied them wherever it was I was able to. So you'll have to be smart when you have in dearth of opportunity, dearth of time and resources, and you can pick up ready-made, tailor-made materials as well. And obviously you can do value additions whenever and wherever you find it's necessary, but you can pick up ready-made materials as well, as I did. So this was how I had done my mains preparation, simultaneously covering my current affairs as well. But I think one more thing which would have helped me, because my marks since in all of the GS papers are consistently better, and I'm satisfied with my GS marks. I think one thing which has helped is that I'd given tests from February 2022 to December 2022 every Sunday. Half-length test in UPSC, you have 3-hour test of 250 marks. I used to give a 125 marks test, 10 questions, 1.5 hours the exam in an exam simulated manner in my home. I used to give tests based on the questions of that particular week's current affairs. So I was able to start in the week 1 when you do not have a lot of content. A lot of people say that Ame day 1 ru kemite answer writing practice kar pari pa am content hi nahi. That's very true. Your first answer will be the worst answer, but that gets better week by week. And for me, content was not an issue because mate say weekly current affair magazine ru question answer the barthla. तो मु जो सही 40 पेज रे पढुतले सही तरी मते आंसर प्रैक्टिस करथला 1.5 घंटा पई sitting at my home, and but I had a timer and I used to scan and get it evaluated. But that's important, like whatever medium you are getting for answer writing, do it as soon as possible, and make it more stipulated way. For UPSC, for a 10 marker you have to spend 7 minutes, and for a 15 marker 11 minutes, not more than that. So you'll have to have that timer ki 7 minute hela mane first question, 14 minute hela mane second question, 21 minute third question. That is something that you'll have to follow, and that comes with practice. First question, first time while writing an answer, giving a test, you'll not be write an answer in 7 minutes. Maybe that will take 20 minutes to write the first answer, but that gradually comes down to 7 minutes or 6 minutes 50 seconds, and then you'll be very thorough with your content. As you would read static, you would read current affairs, you'll do multiple revisions. So by the time you would have given your maybe 40th test, 40th week in your answer writing, you'd be in a state of confidence where you'd be able to write literally anything. And I think for me, prelims was the most difficult part. I'm thankful I did not have to give prelims again, but I think I was not sure if given to appear this year, I'm not sure if I'll be able to clear prelims. But I was confident with mains because of this practice of writing answers, and I've given 50 tests throughout for 11 months with consistency, with discipline. So I think answer writing is very important in this exam, where you get to the confidence at the end ki kichhi bhi question aso mains re, you'll be able to write. Because at the end of the day, you'll have to write 2 pages for a topic or 3 pages max for a 15 marker in general studies. So you'll have to make your content in that format only. So my notes would be also in 1 pager, 2 pager only, जोटा कि मो एग्जाम रे तुरंत रेप्लिकेट करि परिबे. It's not like if I'm reading Panchayati Raj ता ऊपर 6 पेज रे notes बनोचे, because where will you write 6 pages? आपन को max गोटे question बचारी परिबे, and that will be given max 3 pages to write and max 11 minutes. How much will you be able to write in 11 minutes and 3 pages? So your notes should also look like in a manner, in a customized point wise, with the facts, data, constitutional articles, amendments, committee recommendation in 1 page or 2 page max, so that say a question around anything comes around Panchayati Raj, you just pick up the material that you would have kept in your notes. So say starting you'll have 2-3 data points, you'll have constitutional amendment, you'll have Supreme Court judgments. So seta dekho dekho you'll have internalized so much ki dekho dekho you'll just write it. Because honestly, mains is more than a mental game, it's a physical exercise. You'll not get time to think, you just have to keep on writing. You'll have to mains, I'm sure you must be aware, but mains on a Friday morning you'll have to give essay. On Saturday you'll have 2 papers, 3 hours each, GS1, GS2, then Sunday GS3, GS4. So by the time you'll be writing GS4, one of your hands would be almost on the verge of getting paralysis. So it's extremely physically difficult to carry out that with that stamina as well. And what helps is that practice of writing answers and giving multiple tests. Because I have seen a lot of my friends who had a lot of knowledge, but if you cannot translate that knowledge into the piece of paper, then the examiner would not know and read your mind. He does not know you. He knows or she knows only the piece of paper that you would have appeared. So it's very important what kind of knowledge you gain. That has to be in a manner, in a palatable, digestible way, that you present it to the paper in a more efficient and quicker manner, because that's what will be scored. Does not matter what kind of intellect, what kind of PhD you will make yourself through because of this examination, because it's an examination primarily, and secondarily gaining knowledge is what I feel. I'll get a diverse opinion that knowledge comes first and everything, which I admire. But at the end of the day, you have to understand this is an examination and not a knowledge gaining system. So primarily, you have to strategize to clear the exam, and organically you'll get knowledge. Obviously, knowledge becomes the foundation of clearing the examination. But until and unless you strategize yourself to present yourself in those mains paper, 9 papers, then you will not yield anything fruitful. So summarizing my mains part of my slot I was speaking, first is making topic-wise notes from current affairs. So I integrated my current affairs, mains notes, and giving test/answer writing in one thing. So these are not 3 different things. Like people say ki, I'll complete mains part, I'll complete current affairs, and then I'll do answer writing, and then I'll give test series. It feels like you're doing 4 different things, like at 4 different worlds you have to conquer. But no, you can do this all simultaneously. For me, it was current affairs jo source else to make notes of mains. Say current affairs jahan week reportly, I'll have to give a test. And that test was my answer writing strategy for me as well. So all these 4 things was one thing for me, and I was able to save a lot of my time and resources because of this strategy. And I think this would have made a difference in my scores as well. So prelims was this, and mains was this till mid of January. And I was, people say ki for optionals, you read for 5-6 months and get done with it. But in my opinion, be attached to your optional for longest part of the time. Optional is the one which will give you the highest return on investment. So for me, I started in February, and then till December, mid-January, I was with sociology. Obviously, when you are starting, you'll have to put in more hours, but obviously sociology ko itte time da podna thala. But after, then in February, I started prelims, but February Purboru, I was thorough. I was with sociology in something other. Jadi moro notes hi jayla, then I used to write answers, PYQs answer likhte, taki say sociological mind frame rahu. So it could be any optional for you. I'll speak about sociology also in a bit, either I'll say. So I did not have any background in sociology. I come from computer science background, but I had one paper uh, in NIT Rourkela in one of the semesters called Social Movements in India, which I had taken as an elective, and that's how I was introduced to sociology as a subject, and I got interested into it. And after my 8th semester, when I was contemplating that what optional I take, then I did a lot of shortlist from sociology, anthro, PSIR, maths, and I sat down with the syllabus, the resource list. I saw what the other toppers come from, what background they come from, and primarily from interest point of view, I settled with sociology. So if anybody could raise up a hand who are not yet sure what optional they would like to have, or everybody has optionals in mind. Anybody who has not, I mean, just show, raise your hands. I'll not tell you to speak anything. Who is not sure what optional they would like to take? Yeah, a few. It's wonderful that people have things in mind and tag that what optional they will take. But if you are not clear that what optional you'll take, so first you'll have to see your primary. First, if you have a graduation subject and you had interest in it and you were good at it, then no matter what the toppers are scoring, take it, because every optional is scoring. People used to tell engineering subjects do not computer science was not in one of the optional list, but people say engineering subjects do not give you results. All in a rank 1 had electrical engineering this year. So all optional subjects can be scoreable. It's just that your interest has to be intact. So if the graduation and this is in alignment, then you can take that as an optional. But primarily it has to be your interest. You'll have to spend the most amount of time with your optional as single most subject. So interest comes first. The second comes resources in terms of materials, books, or test series, mentorship, so on and so forth. And the third is also about ki how much time does it take. You have to strategize. For me, it boiled down to sociology versus maths, but I felt that maths was kind of lengthy and it will not be able to. I'll not be able to complete it because I was a working professional. So I settled with sociology. So you'll have to also have this strategy in mind. And fourth, also you'll have to also some part of it also look ki how the paper is being scored in past years. No matter what people say, this is an exam again, so you'll have to see ki this particular subject is highly scoring and so on and so forth. So that is also a minute amount of importance that I have to give. So 4 important factors. First being your interest, second resources, third strategy and time, and fourth being the past trends becomes as determining factors for taking any optional. So for sociology, I relied mostly on past year toppers notes. I found it a bit technical in some portions as well. For those, I used to just Google and use YouTube, but that's not a smart way. If for optional, especially if you have resources and you're ready to spend money, it's okay if there's one thing that you want to enroll for a paid course, optional I think should be the priority, because also optional becomes a more technical subject as well. So you can sit for 1 month or 2 and find that if you'll be able to do it on your own. If not, you can always take help. For me, I found it difficult, but since I did not have time, I did not enroll in any of the sociology courses. But a lot of times in between, I would have contemplated my choice and I had second thoughts of joining sociology crash courses as well, but I did not. But I had enrolled in 2 test series for sociology, one before prelims and one after prelims. So I had done ample amount of answer writing as well for sociology, and I thoroughly loved the subject as well. So my optional strategy was I picked up a past year's toppers notes and made that as my base notes, made my own handwritten notes. At cases where I found her content was inadequate, I, uh, I had referred one book called Essential Sociology by Nitin Sangwan. So I complemented from that. And wherever, like internet is such a beautiful resource. If you do not have a content per se, you can just Google that out. And between prelims and mains, I had done a lot of value addition, both for GS and optional as well. For GS, especially value addition, I used to make compilations of topic-wise Supreme Court judgments, topic-wise constitutional articles, amendments, committee recommendations, quotes, so on and so forth, examples, case studies. So all these were there for GS wise. Every topic I had made this compilation, so that, because these value addition material helps, because every point you write, the competition has come to a stage that you cannot just write 5-10 points when it's asking you to explain. You have to give a you'll have to like make your answer interesting, where you put this value addition material, a fact or a figure, an example, a case study, a Supreme Court judgment, or a committee recommendation, both in introduction conclusion. So I was ready with my introduction conclusions for most of the topics already pre-made from all these value addition compilations I had made myself. So that mostly I did between prelims and mains. So same thing for sociology as well. One thing, I had used a lot of ChatGPT for sociology, because if any of you here are from sociology optional, you would know that, or PSI or Anthro, you know that you'll have to quote a lot of thinkers and scholars. So for that, for a lot of topics, you would not find thinkers and scholars at one point. So it was easier when ChatGPT boomed just to write down that as a postgraduate in sociology, assuming you are appearing for UPSC CSE, give me 5 sociological theories about artificial intelligence, or give me 10 sociological ideas about same-sex marriage. So things like that you'll not get at one place consolidated material, but you can take use of technology in this way as well. But again, if you are getting a consolidated material through an institute or a coaching, then that's fine as well. I could not, because I was in dearth of time. But if somebody, and I had, as I said, there are just 2 toppers that I had used a lot of resources from. One was Jayant Nahata, IS, and Divyanshu Nigam, IS. I do not know them personally, but I had stumbled upon their Telegram channels. Extremely qualitative resources I had gotten from them as well. But again, I was acquainted with that resources because I kind of found relatability with that content. My experiences might not be relatable to you, so you might need a dedicated teacher and dedicated mentor to give you a ready-made content. I was able to make a differentiation ki co-material ta irrelevant, co-material ta relevant nahi. So I think I had gotten that intuition ki acha eta, because more in Delhi or in any of the spheres, you'll get a lot of materials. You'll have to filter out, and that's an art itself ki co-material ta no padiba than co-material ta padiba, because today there's no scarcity of resources. So it's always handy if you get a mentor or a teacher here, or a coaching material or coaching here or anywhere. If you get it, then it's well and fine as well. Otherwise, the journey becomes a bit tougher if you are not being guided by anybody, is what I feel. So between prelims and mains, this value addition and a lot of test series was my goal, and that's why I think mains gave me this score and this rank. For prelims, as I was saying, from February to December, I used to do my standard books, multiple revisions of the same. But in February, I started giving the test series. You can pick up test series of any institutes and give tests, like as many tests as you can. I would have given 35 to 45 tests from February to May for prelims. And initially I started with once a week, but May masabaloku first week of May it emiti thila ki gotte dinte dita test douthile mo. So because no matter people say ki ko bhi test series coaching is not matching up to the standard of UPSC, which is true. Nobody can. UPSC will always be one step ahead of anybody. But then jo experience you will get through solving coaching test series will make you answer a lot of questions that will not be confident in the examination hall. Honestly, any topper you ask, no matter how much score they would have gotten, on a very good day, prelims re kahaku 35 to 40 questions should ask confidently. 35-40 is also a very good number that you are confident about that. And after that point, everybody does more than 80, 85, 90 questions appear. And how do they do that? You have to do educated guesses. And these are educated guesses are not random. These are something that you would have, the meta knowledge you would have gained through. And that making that educated guesses comes from these coaching test series. So it's very weird that we paint coaching industry as well in a very non-sacred way in the sphere, and a lot of cases rightfully so. But you'll have to understand a lot of coachings actually help. similar to test series here as well. So that's my point. Do not be skeptical ki naam ko bhi coaching material nebini. I'll read only from standard books. No, like you'll have to make improvisation. You'll have to make choices, and you do not have to do everything from one place, but you can find your different resources. So that would be one significant message that I would convey. So yes, so most of these 30 questions that you will guess educatedly, that will be because of the how you would have practiced in test series. So that's how test series is very helpful. If you are starting now, if you have 1 year or 2 years as well, you can give MCQs because if you're done with one part of one subject, then give tests for that as well, because then only you'll be able to evaluate yourselves. As I said, I was doing alone. I did not have anyone to evaluate my preparation. I used to evaluate myself based on these tests I was giving, and that's the most authentic form to test yourself if you are on the track or not. So give tests regularly, and I used to make a Excel sheet as well ki a test etiki mark hoila subject wise. And during prelims February to May bhitar mo test series doutili, then I had this 3 columns ki how many correct, how many wrong, and from the wrong ones, why did I make it wrong? A, because I had no idea about that. B, I had the idea, I had read it but forgotten. Or C, I had read it, revised it, knew it, but did silly mistakes. So if when you can track say the Excel sheet, if it not even Excel sheet, needs a mark karike, and if you track ki more say silly mistakes oda ka com hochi na nahi, more say mistake oda ka jotare revision incomplete rahuchi, then you'll be able to ki ko subject mo besi revision kari paribi. Ko subject is my strength, I'll build on my strengths, and ko subject mo weakness rahichi, kotre revision com rahi jauchi, जोतरे देखा जाउछि कि मोते तरे no idea asuchi, maybe more content ର gap अछि, then maybe I'll go back and revisit and get better content इतरे. कोतरे will be having कि इतरे more revision insufficient, I'll revise that more, and somewhere will be silly mistakes आई थी, and you'll find कि कहीं की silly mistake रोचे इतरे. So this self evaluation and self introspection is also extremely important, I feel, extremely for prelims point of view. And prelims you can do it yourself as well, because it's an MCQ, so you can evaluate yourself. In mains, obviously, if you get a tutor here, I'm assuming in Vajra also you would be getting a tutor who would be evaluating answers. So if you get somebody here as well, it's important to get your copies checked regularly and work on those feedbacks. But in prelims, you can do things on yourself because it's an MCQ, and you can self-introspect as well. So this was more or less my prelim strategy, and mains I had mentioned, and sociology also I did. I'll touch upon my revision strategy as well. For my revision, as I said, one thing was for sure is that from Monday to Saturday, what I was studying, Sunday I used to revise that. No new material on Sunday. But again, I used to track my revision also. Like I was like, in the month of April, if I'm doing April 1 to April 20 Lakshmikant, then I knew ki May 18th I'll revise, May 18th through 23 I'll revise Lakshmikant. So I had this thing on my Excel where I used to track ki when I'm studying, when is my next revision 1, when is my revision 2. If I had completed, I used to mark that green. So all these things are all important where you track your preparation and award yourself. So whenever I was like, acha theek hai, aaji weekly targets of revision, I'm 90% green dekha, then I'll treat myself with something. So it's also important that you be easy on yourself, reward yourself with anything that you would like. Take a break. A break could be also, leisure could be one thing. Going out for movies because you had revised so and so thing is also one thing. So these reinforcement activities and reinforcement strategies are also extremely crucial, because you yourself have to make this preparation interesting. Otherwise, this preparation after a point becomes extremely lonely and becomes extremely uninteresting and boring. Because once it's interesting to read spectrum per se and modern history, but once you are aware ki acha kaun hai thila, and then it does not become interesting. Is then revision, and revision is extremely boring. So you'll have to find certain ways in which you keep yourself engaged and make the process interesting. There's another way where I used to revise. One thing I found out useful was that since I had office and I had no scope to study within office hours as at all, but I used to get like 20-30 minutes during lunch. So what I used to do is that, for example, things which requires a lot of memorization, for example, ancient history or medieval history. So for that, when I'm revising, I used to keep my phone recorder on, and I used to tell that loud ki for example, Kutubuddin Aibak had come this year to that year. So that is to like if I'm reading Delhi Sultanate, so that will be a 15 minutes revision and I'm recording my voice. So while I was commuting, I was going to my office or having my breakfast or having my lunch, I'll just to listen to that. And when you are listening to something that you would have said, that the retention becomes important as well. So this is also one of the quirky way of revising. So these things are something that you yourself will realize कि कोई दिन से अपन को help करिबो कोई दिन से करिबो and you will yourself come up with these innovative ways in which you can revise. And these come when you have a lot of clarity. निज पाखे planning थिबो कि मते गोटे वर्ष रे करिवार अछि मते next attempt देबार अछि. It should not be like कि मु आगो complete करि दिए then भाबिबी केबे देबी. You'll have to think कि 2025 या फिर 2026 रे देबी तो back करी के सी कि अच्छा मोके 2 वर्ष टाइम अछि तो 2 वर्ष रे how will I prepare. एमति नै कि देखिबा 2 वर्ष लागू 3 वर्ष लागू 4 वर्ष पर I'll give. If you go then you'll never be able to complete the syllabus. Nobody has completed syllabus, neither rank 1, rank 2, any of the years. Nobody is thoroughly 100% prepared. Always it feels that किछि ना किछि त कमी रहि जाय छी. But once your goal is set up कि मु ए वर्ष देबी या पूर्व मोर ए मास एमिति completion होबार अछि, then you will become innovative by yourself only, and you will find these ways, these innovative ways in which will suit you. So the voice recording one might not help everybody, but it helped me. So you'll have your own little strategies to make your preparation more efficient and effective as well. So this was more or less revision, and next I'll speak a bit about interview as well. If you are appearing 2025 or 2026, you do not have to worry about interview at all now. I hope you make through and give interview, because I'll share also my interview experience while I tell my strategy for that as well. My interview was in January 10th. In the first week of interviews, UPSC interviews span for around 4 months. This time it was from January to mid of April. So mine was in the first week itself. I did not had a lot of time to prepare after the mains results were out. So coming to experience in interview, the one single most feeling that I had on the day of interview was pure happiness, nothing else. Because I mean, obviously all of you are civil servants aspirants. It's that particular core memory to get a photograph clicked in front of UPSC Bhavan and going through that lobbies is something that I had always thought all my childhood and my college days. And to just be in that situation and having to experience that was extremely surreal. So nervousness, anxiety, fear was always there, but all of them took a backseat. And the only feeling that I had was happiness. So I hope you will also have a similar experience, a much better experience. I do not have a great score in interview, but I hope you guys go through that process of appearing interview at UPSC Bhavan. Extremely like the board that you'll get, they would make you very comfortable. Everything that you see online, the mocks and everything, extremely helpful. All interview guidance program. But UPSC interview is, I feel, the board becomes extremely more cordial, make you more comfortable. And although a lot of people say that it's your personality test, UPSC also tells it's a personality test, but it's not only personality, it's also your knowledge, because the personality gets shown through your knowledge. So you'll be asked questions, not like your personality will be assessed without asking you questions. So knowledge in interview is also important, but it's again a personality test. But I myself had thoroughly enjoyed interview preparation the most as compared to prelims and mains, because you get to sit down with everything that is associated with the life. There is a detailed application form in UPSC that you fill, where you put everything, which is basically a customized CV for you. So I sat down with the places that I was born and brought up in, about Talcher, Angul, Odisha, Raurkela. My mother comes from Cuttack, so all these places, and then my hobbies, my interests, Indian oil, so everything about energy, oil crisis, so about that as well. So you basically self-introspect about your life journeys right from your childhood. So it's a very fun process, and you will really enjoy when you do the interview specific preparation. So for that also I had given a lot of mocks for interviews. I was in Delhi, so it was easier for me to give mocks because I was able to schedule on my own terms. So that I think is the one single most thing which had held that being in Delhi was I was not able to make my calendar adjust according to their schedule because I was in Delhi, so anytime I wanted to give a mock, I was able to. So that is one thing that I'd have held being in Delhi. But after I'd given couple of mocks, I did not had a lot of time, so given couple of mocks, and the interview was very cordial. My board was General Raj Shukla sir's board, extremely cordial board, and most of my questions were revolving around Odisha and technology because I come from computer science. I was asked a lot of questions from Odisha. I recall I was asked about Boita Bandhana. I was asked about Kartika Purnima and why things around that. I was asked about Talcher is famous for coal mines, but apart from coal mines, what's better in Talcher and why would you invite anybody to Talcher? I was asked about a lot about Jagannath Puri culture as well. One interesting question I was asked was what is the relationship between Puri Jagannath and Sikhism? Which I remember was probably one of the questions which I had like literally no idea about. So again, in interview, if you do not have an answer, be honest and tell that you do not know about it, and you will read about it when you go back. So again, you don't have to score 100 on knowledge, but in those questions when you do not have an answer and how do you react to that, judge makes them you judge your makes them judge your personality. So you'll have a lot of fun while you'll prepare for interview. So my interview process was extremely cordial, nice, but I do not have a very good score in interview. But my mains marks have compensated for that. But interview more or less was sitting with your own DAF and every word, relevant word of it, research on that and make your own handmade notes. And again, that is a time when in during interview I picked up newspaper again and used to read it thoroughly. So during that time, although initially I started Hindu, but before interview I had picked up Indian Express. If you have time, pick two, I would say, for interview. One is any Hindu/Indian Express. I would suggest Indian Express during interview as compared to Hindu because for a more balanced point of view, and you can pick up any of the economy oriented newspapers as well, like any Economic Times or anything. So you can pick that as well if you have time, because people usually have around 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and so you can be thorough with your newspaper, especially during your interview. So that was my interview strategy. So if I have to summarize my preparation strategy, and I feel what are crucial and stand out was for me is that one, having a planned approach of timeline about what, when, and how will I do that, having a resource list in hand, and minimizing it and revising it as much as possible. Third, uh, mains topic wise notes that I was to prepare from various resources, and extensive answer writing for GS as well as optional sociology, and fifth being a lot of test series that you can give both from prelims and mains point of view. For mains, I would have written, as I said, apart from the 50 half length test I would have written, full length test I would have written around 16 to 20 GS full length test I would have written. And sociology, I have lost the count, but I've written a lot of sociology answers. So on the days when I used to come back from office and I used to feel that I do not want to study, I just to write two sociology answers and go back to sleep. So I had written a lot of sociology answers as well. And the most significant part of the preparation that I come is like what I can think is important, most important is you have to keep your physical and mental health in check, more mental, and especially having a support system really helps. Anybody could be your support system, but adhere to them, nurture that, and be open up about your insecurities, about your fear to that. So I'd end up again by thanking sir and the entire team for giving this opportunity. I have heard and have seen a lot of wonderful work being done by Vajira IAS Academy here and other centers as well. And I am so happy that we have such a leading institution here in Bhubaneswar, because for me, experiences in Delhi was full of anger. I used to make a lot of quick comparisons between what's happening in Odisha and what in Delhi, from mostly from UPSC point of view, and where I come from is to see that Odisha uh, representation in civil services has to be more. And when we bring that better Delhi culture here in Bhubaneswar, as I'm hoping and I'm sure institutions like Vajra as Academy are bringing back Delhi here in Bhubaneswar, and Bhubaneswar and Odia people do not have to go back to Delhi or such places, is something that I think will yield to a lot of better representation of civil service servants and aspirants coming and making it to the final list, is something that I personally would be very passionate about. I'd like to see. I even interacted with the then all rank one Rupa Mishra ma'am, 2003 ranker, and she had always been this name. My father used to motivate me. So I'm sure if somebody tells you that, gives my example, tell them no, you'll score all under rank one, and I think that would make me the happiest. And thank you everybody.